pretty long interviews. So
Yeah, no worries. I'm gonna get back to working on the Entheos record anyways, which your people are dying for.
yeah,
So
good. All right.
yeah.
All right, we welcome back our old friend, Mr. Mark Lewis. I'm going to give him a proper introduction, though, here. These are pretty impressive stats. Mark has been involved with 135 studio records, one compilation album, 6 EPs, one single, and one video album, whatever that is. And of course, some of the artists that he's worked with are, oh gosh, let's see. Trivium, Chimera, Devil Driver, The Black Dahlia Murder, All the Remains, Beneath the Massacre, Cataclysm, August Burns Red, Eyeless, Job for a Cowboy, Charred Walls of the Damned, Doth, Death Angel, Demon Hunter, Whitechapel, Deicide, God Forbid, Kill Switch Engage. I mean, we could go on and on and on. Anyway,
Wow.
very impressive stats you have there, my friend.
Man, I gotta say, thank you for the pump up. But I mean, I'm well over 200 records at this point.
Oh wow, okay. Well, somebody needs to update your Wikipedia then. Or...
Yeah, I don't know who does that. Somebody was kind enough to do that. I guess I should log in there and do it. Yeah, I mean, we're well over 200 at this point. I mean, we're
excuse me. I'm
21 years in. Man, it's crazy. Remember when I was the new kid on the block and you were you gave me your trust.
Well, it was well earned. So
yeah, well, I appreciate it, man. That's cool.
Good.
Yeah.
So today's fun. We get to talk about Mercyful Fate, The Oath, of course, one of the landmark records in heavy metal. And people go back and forth between Melissa and this album, which is more influential. Which is, I it's almost impossible to say. I lean a little bit towards this one. Just because of the structure of some of the songs, specifically this song too, which is why I'm happy we're talking about this over. I mean, there's no wrong answer on the first two Mercyful Fate records; like they're all classics. But this one's really interesting, just because there's so many variations of what's going on. It's probably like 8 or 9 or 10 different guitar parts happening, and different structures of the song, and then King singing this like crazy high falsetto. But it all works, and the production, it's just these mysterious people at a mysterious studio in Copenhagen, Denmark, that were making magic back in 1981.
Yeah, what was the guy's name? Henrik
Lund
or something?
Henrik Lund at a studio that doesn't exist anymore either over there.
Was he active with a lot of other metal stuff?
Not really. That's the thing is, I remember talking to King about him, and he had done a couple things, but I mean, he didn't really do a whole lot of stuff, and I don't think he really did a whole lot of things after this. Probably a few things, but there's not even a Wikipedia page on him or anything. So he must have came and went fairly quickly. And I get the feeling too that, especially knowing King and Hank and those guys, that they were very hands-on when they're in the studio.
It sounds really good, man. That record it's so clear and good. And yeah, I mean, it's got a little bit of the 80s verb that makes me cringe sometimes, but like it's really full. Like a lot of those records back then were tinny, and it's just like it just sounds great. Like it just and those guys were just they always had great guitar sounds, and there's so many riffs. It's like that's a funny thing about Mercyful Fate. It's like every great riff ever written is in like every Mercyful Fate song.
Right. I mean, it's been a while since I listened to that song too. And, we're doing it with the great Elliot Fulham, if you know him from Terrifier 1, 2, and 3. But, he was the one that brought it up, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I have to go back and listen to that song. It's been a minute, and I forgot like how many incredible riffs there are in this song. Just like on and on and on. You're right. It's like there's like 10 legendary riffs on one song.
Yeah, it's insane. It's kind of like Suffocation is with death metal, like Pierce from Within. It's like every great death metal riff ever written is on that album. It's like it's you have those bands that are just experts at stringing that stuff together, and I think it's no coincidence that like right around then is when Metallica, just after that album comes out, they become kind of the kings of streaming together 8-minute songs with a million great riffs that still made sense.
And we talk about all of their influences, but Mercyful Fate was probably one of their biggest influences.
Yeah,
obviously you have the Danish connection with Lars and King Diamond and the guys, but Kirk also, like I didn't realize how big a fan of Mercyful Fate he was until King went up. Metallica played Frisco at an Ozfest, Frisco, Texas at an Ozfest. There was a soccer stadium there, I guess, that they played. Anyway, I had King Diamond come up and do the Mercyful Fate medley, and they were very nice of me, nice of them, nice to me to allow me to go into the rehearsal studio before they played because they were rehearsing that song. And after they had done that, it was either before or after, like Kirk was like warming up. He just played like Mercyful Fate riff. He played like 10 of them in like a 2-minute span. And afterwards, I said, "Well, I had no idea you're that big a Mercyful Fate fan." He's going, "Oh my God, they're like one of my favorite bands of all time." And as a guitar player, a huge influence. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And that was pretty cool. And hence, why they did the whole Mercyful Fate medley thing. But yeah, they were one of the ones probably that had maybe the most influence over them in terms of how they structured their songs, because you could really hear that when you listen to especially these first 2 Mercy albums.
Yeah, I mean, if I can, honestly, interview you for a second here, like, where did you put these records? Because we've talked about this history of this stuff, but like Mercyful Fate sounds fucking expensive and good, and like, where did you put them? In terms of like the new wave of British metal and the other things that were happening, even in the States at the time. But this was 1984. Which means these songs were probably kicking around 81, 82 for them. So they really were, almost a generation ahead of Metallica in terms of,
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, so I wonder just like, where did that sit for you guys? Did you talk about them? Because they would, I assume, would have been somebody that all of you guys looked up to at that point.
Oh yeah.
And what was it like? Where did they stand? Because to me, they were more evil than a lot of the new wave guys, except Venom, which to me I don't really put in the new wave of British metal, even though I guess I would be wrong for saying that. They were always a different, more evil thing to me.
Well, yeah, I got into Mercy really, really early on. I had the first time I went to England was 1982. And one of the things that we got over there was the original Mercyful Fate demo tape.
Yeah.
It was my friend John and I. We went over there for like 2 weeks, and then the very end of the trip, we spent all of our money on records. So the end of the trip, we had literally no money left. So we had enough money to get like a basically a hostel hotel sort of thing. It's just a room with 2 beds in it, community bathroom, no TV, no nothing. It's a bed and breakfast basically.
Right.
But all we had, we had all the records, but John had this tiny little tape player. And the only thing we had was a Mercyful Fate demo. And we didn't really have a whole lot to do because we had no money. So we just listened to that demo over and over again. Still one of the heaviest things I've ever heard. So I immediately got in touch with their manager at the time and said, "Hey, I'm putting together this, I just did this." Actually, even before that, I had heard about them because when I was working at the record store, we had the EP that they had put out, and we sold a lot of that too. The Nuns Have No Fun EP. So I reached out to their manager and I wanted to get them on the original Metal Massacre record. And we're going to do it with the song called Death Kiss. But it didn't end up happening because they got the deal. They got a deal with Ravon, and then they got the deal with Roadrunner pretty quickly after that. So it didn't really make any sense for them to be on the record. But yeah, they've been on my radar for a long time. And of course, I love those first 2 Mercy records. It's kind of a shame that our relationship with Roadrunner didn't happen until after those records came out. So, Johnny Z kind of was able to put them out in the US first.
Right.
Which was kind of a bummer to me, but it's like he knew about them before I did and got in there. So, and he had the relationship with the Roadrunner and Music for Nations as well at the time. But yeah, but in the lexicon of everything, they were, even though they obviously weren't a British band, they're in Denmark, but they were doing something a little bit different than the new wave of British heavy metal stuff.
Right.
But still incredible. I loved all that early stuff, and I love these first 2 records too. So it's been, for me as a fan, I was the one that when Mercyful Fate was not together, I was actively trying to get them to be back together. And unbeknownst to me, at the time, they were actually talking about reuniting. So I came in, and we knew their lawyer really well, and ended up doing the deal. And then now we have all of the Mercyful Fate and King Diamond catalog is all under the Metal Blade banner, which is a huge thing for me because I think these records are so important, and it's an honor to be able to do that. But yeah, they were way up there. They were they were certainly, you put them at that point up with, Maiden and Saxon and Diamond Head and all the big stuff that was going on back then, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to me, it was like they, yeah. I mean, I guess maybe to the untrained ear, maybe you'd hear King for a second and think, oh, it's more power metal. But there was just such a different storytelling imagery to them, and the new wave stuff in England kind of had like this punk thing, and a lot of it kind of sounded bad, or just
Hey,
what's that?
hey, don't disparage the new Irish heavy metal. It was all great.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about like the production value compared
Oh,
to
yeah,
to
yeah.
compared to the Oath, like to that
Sure.
record is what I'm saying. Like I think the songs were great. I mean, I've told you before, I went way down that rabbit hole. I mean, I even have the compilation you did with Lars. I bought that as a kid, and but to me, it was like Merciful Fate was just they didn't have that, and it's not a knock. They didn't have that English edge,
No, and
That
they were, and you talk to those guys, they were way more into the European side
yeah.
of metal. I mean, they loved Priest, and they loved,
Mhm.
obviously, King was a huge Uriah Heep fan. Uh, that's, his son's named after the singer. But yeah, they were more influenced by a lot of that stuff, and kind of the more, like Deep Purple, which of course is an
Yeah.
English band too, but the more classical sort of stuff where you're
Right.
right, like a lot of the new wave of British heavy metal was kind of had that punk edge to it just because they were kind of coming off of punk. And Mercy was never really had the punk part of it. It was more kind of the classical sort of metal playing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's and the riffing is to me, they're kind of like the second in line to Black Sabbath in terms of riff innovation,
Yep.
and obviously, we all say Metallica and Megadeth, Slayer took it to the next level, but in terms of the guys that really did it first and were like, whoa, this is changing how the guitar is played completely in terms of rhythm guitar playing. It's Black Sabbath and Merciful Fate to
Yeah.
me,
You're
and
100%,
it's
100%.
and yeah, and it's just so critical. And obviously Sabbath gets their due, Merciful Fate not as much. But yeah, it's just really it was just so ahead of its time, and it's cool to talk about it, and I hope that it inspires people to go back and listen to how important that stuff was, and consider that it was 42 or 43 years ago that album came out, being their second. I think it was a second LP, right?
Second album, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
technically third release because they had the EP
yeah,
out before then, but yeah, third
yeah.
release. But I'll
I
tell
mean
you
it.
though, real quick, all the stuff you say is great, and I agree 100%. But what's interesting is the last tour that Mercy did a few years ago. They were doing like, I think, 4 or 5,000 seat venues in the
Fair enough.
US,
Yeah,
and a lot of kids. Like I'd say, I don't know, at least 35% of the crowd, at least of the shows I went to, were people under the age of 30 or
good.
mid 30s, maybe. It was really cool to see how that stuff still lives. And I think it's because, bands like Metallica and so many of these
Y-
bands
Yeah,
talk about their love for Merciful Fate and how influential they were. So, a lot of people who are like that will go like, oh, I'll go check them out.
yeah. No, I love that. I think that's amazing, and yeah, I mean, just landmark stuff, critical stuff, and glad it's part of this thing that you're doing here, because it's
Yeah, it's
awesome.
fun. One comment I want to make on this song in particular, which you don't really talk about a lot on here, is, but I love the way the cymbals sound. I don't know what it is about them or
Interesting.
how
I'll
he
have to.
played it. I just they have a really nice crispness to them.
Yeah,
And it's like, man, those cymbals sound really good, which is hard to do. Like those are probably the most difficult things to record sometimes.
absolutely. I totally agree. It's always a fight. It's funny when people like people will ask me like, how do you get cymbals sound so good on the records you produce? I'm like, use good cymbals. That's about it. It's like just use good cymbals. I mean, obviously the mic. I'm crazy about mic placement, but I got to go back and listen to that. I always thought the bass sounded really good on that album. It's a thick sounding record for the time, and just very clear. Like it's cool. There's not a lot lost. And the guy was clearly a really good engineer, and the band was obviously very tight. So
Yeah, it's good
big
stuff.
deal stuff.
Well, thanks again, man. Always good to have you on, and I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you. Just like that, the image changes. I like it.
Cool.
All right, once again, we bring back our friend, Mr. Mark Lewis, who has done over 200 studio records now. Very impressive, and they're all really good, too, and they all sound really good, more importantly.
Well, I appreciate that. You're too kind, man.
No, it's you deserve all of it, my friend. Come on.
Well,
So there's really not much to talk about with Black Sabbath, and we've talked about this record before on here. Not with Mark, but I mean, it's a live album, basically, is what it is. They recorded this in one day.
Yeah.
One single 12-hour day.
Yeah,
And
I thought it was like 7 or 8 hours or something like that. Crazy.
Well, it was 12 total with the overdubs and everything else. Something like that. It might have been 9 or 10 or whatever it was. But it's still, to me, insane that this landmark record, one of the most important records in, forget heavy metal, just in music in general, was basically recorded in one day. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, and dude, I could gush about Black Sabbath forever. I mean, I got into them very young. It spoke to me immediately. It wasn't a thing, that I like. There was a lot of metal that I went back to because I felt like I was obligated to, to learn the history as a kid, because there was obviously so much little access to music compared to now. Anything I got my hands on as a kid in the 90s was, a big deal. But I remember hearing Black Sabbath and being like, oh fuck, it just spoke to me so immediately. And the guitar playing in particular, and just to start off, I mean, Tony Iommi is the most important musician, in my opinion, in rock and roll and metal, period, of the last 55, 60 years.
Yeah,
I mean, he's it.
100% right. I mean, he basically created a genre of music, which
not
a lot of people can say.
Yeah, and I mean, it's it's not even just extreme metal. I mean, you could go talk to Steve Lukather as much as you could talk to Billy Joe from Green Day, as much as you could talk to James Hetfield or literally anybody who has ever rested their hand on the bridge of a guitar to palm mute a riff is gonna point you to Tony Iommi, and maybe older guys like Lukather would say, oh, the Beatles, were his big thing. But they're all going to mention Sabbath and how that was just so incredibly important in rock, period. And it's everywhere. Every song you turn on the radio now, an active rock, has a Black Sabbath fingerprint in it, and the guitar sounds. I mean, everything. And I mean, that's not to diminish the other guys, because they're so incredibly important.
Well, especially this song, NIB. I mean, the bass intro is just incredible. And I mean, Geezer's a phenomenal bass player.
Yeah.
And that bass intro was it's kind of unique too, because you really didn't, I mean, everything they were doing was unique because they're kind of, like I said, basically creating a genre, but you didn't hear a lot of bass solo openings to a song. And then they had that kind of weird little part after that was kind of like a phalange sort of thing. I'm not sure what it is, but it's really interesting. And again, they just probably had played 1 or 2 takes of it, and that was it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I could be wrong. I'm sure there's bass aficionados that will jump in real quick. But I mean, I don't remember times hearing, I'm trying to think of earlier times where I've heard a bass that distorted at that time.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole sound. And Geezer also mentions that early on, a lot of bass players were doing different parts, and he was just kind of like learning the bass. He played guitar prior to this, so he was new to playing bass. And he's just like, I'm basically just kind of following what Tony's doing. And that's another reason why it's so heavy, because you have both the guitar and the bass pretty much doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So it just makes it a richer, fuller sound, and it does kind of make sense.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just epic. And I would love to dig in more to that. I always wondered why they cut the tracks the way they did on that first record. I love the first record, and I revisit that one a lot. It's funny. I feel like I revisit Paranoid, maybe the least out of the quote unquote big Sabbath records. But I love the sound of the first one, and I love Ozzy's voice in it. The sound of it's fantastic, but.
And Ozzy's voice is a little different if you notice on this.
You
notice on this record from afterwards, it's a little lower. It's just a different register, which is kind of interesting. And then you go, then all of a sudden Paranoid, it's like, oh, that's, he sounds a little bit different on here. So I don't know if it
Yeah.
just he was just I mean, they're all young kids basically at the time, kind of learning their craft. Like Geezer said, I just started playing bass. So and Ozzy was certainly not opera type professional singer at that
No,
point.
not at all. I mean, but yeah, his ear for melody is just awesome, and just the way they put those songs together is too incredible. Yeah, it's just beyond pioneer stuff. The just Tony's ear for melody and how he did things is just you know it's second to none. I mean, he created it all.
Yeah, there's definitely no denying that. You talk to anybody, like you mentioned, you talk to anybody. It doesn't matter if it's in the metal genre or not. They all
Mhm.
go back to Tony Iommi. I also find it very interesting that Tony Iommi's best friend is Brian May.
Mhm.
So what would a fly on the wall be like when those two are having guitar conversations about guitar and stuff? It's got to be pretty insane.
Oh, it's amazing. I just saw a thing the other day of Brian, praising Tony and all he's created and things like that. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, apparently, Tony and Eddie Van Halen were very close too, which
Yes.
I thought was fascinating. And that would be the other guy that I would say would be the most important in terms of the way the guitar is played would be Eddie, after Tony.
Yep.
Um, and it's just everything I see about Tony's so classy and cool. He's like the one guy that like I would just die to meet and just be like just even just be a fly on the wall, like you said. I mean, the guy's fascinating to me. It's incredible that we still have him here on Earth, and it's
Right.
crazy that
Yeah.
Ozzy was alive until 6 months ago.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I've
the whole
kind of
band.
met I've kind of met everybody in this world, but I've never met Tony Iommi. I know all the other guys, but I
Yeah,
didn't. Tony Iommi's one of those guys though that I don't get nervous meeting people. I mean, you meet all these
sure.
people all the time. They're just human beings. It's not a big deal.
Yeah,
But Tony Iommi for me would be like, thank you for my life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, totally.
Uh, one of uh,
Absolutely, man.
one of my good friends who used to work with us was his assistant for a while, and it was one of those award shows where we're talking. He's like, yeah. Oh, it's too bad you missed Tony. He just left. I go, I've said I've never met him. He said, you never met Tony? I say I mean, everybody I know that's met him said he's super cool. He's nice. I mean, I know Eddie Trunk talks to him quite a bit, and when
Yeah.
you hear in interviews, he's a super super nice guy. But yeah, that would be a little nerve wracking because yeah, it's wow. What like I said, what do you say? Like him and Mario Lemieux are the two people I don't know if I can meet because I'd just be
I love that though. I hope, and it seems like he is. I just hope that he is as good at history as I feel like he is. His book is amazing. I loved his book.
yeah,
Obviously, some people would be more interested in Ozzy's book if you're a little more of a layman as far as his metal is concerned. But reading his book was something else. It was great, and I hope he leaves behind a legacy of things to just kind of devour, as
sure.
far as history,
Well, now he's doing
So,
this. There's this YouTube documentary sort of thing that he's been doing too. I haven't seen it yet. I think there's only one or two episodes, but it's supposed to be really good.
yeah,
So
I gotta watch that. I gotta watch that.
yeah, it's on my list too. I will say though that of the three books that I've read, the Ozzy, the Tony, and the Geezer book, I like Geezer's book the best. I, I,
Interesting. I gotta
I
read them.
it's really really great. Like that's my thing is I read rock and metal autobiographies all the time. So I've read I
Yeah,
don't know
same.
probably 100 of them at this point. And Geezer's in my top 10 for sure. It's a really really great book, really well done. He comes off as a really good guy, which I know he is. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's really but it's interesting because he's a very shy guy, so you wouldn't expect him to be so outgoing in the book, but he's great. The book is awesome. So if you have not read it yet, yeah, it's a must read. It's definitely a must read. And a lot of great Sabbath stories, obviously.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, yeah. So NIB. I mean, insane. I mean, the whole thing. I mean, the way he did those solos, the dueling solos at the end, which was kind of a Tony trademark,
Yep.
but also just the doubling of the guitars, the way he did that. I mean, yeah, other guys had maybe done that stuff, but nothing sounded that big and that heavy. And just the riffs, man, the riffs, they're still just the top of the heap stuff. And his playing is so, to me, so emotional. I mean, I got lucky to see them I saw them reunite in the late 90s, and then I was on the Ozfest tour in 05. So I've seen the original lineup probably like 45, 50 times or something, you know.
Nice.
And I would never miss watching it. Like the solo sections he would do in those shows when, you know, the 90s and early 2000s, it was just like every night I would watch him and get chills. It was just like,
Yeah.
God damn, this
This-
guy just like has it all.
Yeah, the whole band. I mean, they're
Yeah.
all just, and that's what makes it work, right? You've got to have, you know, in
Yeah.
their case, 3 incredible musicians that kind of play off each other, and each one individually is a master at what they do, and you put them all together, you have this amazing thing. So, yeah,
Yeah.
good stuff. It all recorded in 12 hours. Still kind of blows me away, but
Yeah, unreal.
yeah. Anyway, Mark, thank you so much. Always good to see you, and I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
You too, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. And as always, we got to wait for